Hello, everybody. Welcome to our full webinar. It's the second of the series. I'm really happy to welcome today Thomas Spitz and Christian Moreillon and Anthony Bama. Today we're talking about AI, huge subject at the moment, I think. And is it scary or isn't it scary? We will find out today what can be scary. We'll talk about different things. You've probably heard all the different terms like open source, machine learning, coding, prompting. What does it all mean? And especially how it can be helpful and beneficial. But before we do that, I need to do some maintenance comments or observations. We're being recorded, everybody. You have a Q&A little section down at the bottom of your screen, just here. If you have questions, please pop them in and I will ask the panelists to answer as best they can. And if you have any more questions, keep coming and keep bringing them in. This is interactive. Same with the panelists. I'd like them to actually interact and discuss rather than wait for me to ask the questions. And if I'm saying something wrong, please correct me. That's what's important. So here we go. Without further ado, first of all, thank you, Christian Moreillon. You're an artist on WISe.ART, and you work a lot with virtual reality. And,
yes,
yeah.
indeed.
So are you new to this medium? Do you want to tell us a little bit more? Not too much, because I'll come back to you, but just to introduce yourself.
I'm new to the medium as long as it exists, since the beginning of or the end of 2000 and let's say 21 or 22, I think. I mean, talking about generative AI. So since it appears, I started to explore.
Okay. And were you curious or were you worried? What pushed you?
At the beginning, definitely, I was worried about I was both worried about the possibilities and what it can arise, and curious about everything which is possible with it.
That's great. That's good. And I'm sure you'll tell us a little bit more about the exploration world. Then we met Thomas. Thomas, we haven't met yet, but so I'd like to thank you, a huge thank you for being here with us today. And you actually advise people, right? You're a consultant group called AI Partners.
Yes, first of all, thank you, Anthony, for the invitation. We are very happy to be there. I'm the co-founder of AI Partners, which is a partner to help a company to integrate generative AI into sales and marketing. For me, I discovered ChatGPT as everyone 2 years ago, and next week I quit my job to focus on it because I was so amazed about the potential. It's even true. So since we're trying to understand the positive effect, but also the potential bad effect, because there is, and we need to understand it to help companies to progress in the AI adoption.
And protect themselves, I guess, as well from, that's what we're all about as well, is cybersecurity. Yeah, so when you said generative AI, what does that mean exactly?
Generative AI is a form of AI which is able to generate things. So before that, AI, artificial intelligence, was data in output and decision in input. Is inverse. Data in input and decision as output. You can predict things thanks to a lot of data in order to take a decision. This was AI before ChatGPT. Now we have data in input and data in output, because data is generating data. So you can generate text, images, vocals, video. So it's creating a lot of opportunities, but also a lot of complexities, because you have to measure the quality of the output and you have to protect yourself against the potential fake made by the output.
Okay, so there we're touching also on intellectual property, which is another subject people are very worried about. So we'll get into that a little bit later. Thanks, Thomas. And then we have our colleague, Anthony, who's I know him almost better about his work in music than I do his work in our own offices, which seems strange, but there we go. We're in cybersecurity, so we don't share what we do. So tell us a little bit. You're an analyst, but you also dabble with AI and you use it in your work as well as in your hobby, right, Anthony?
Yes, hello everyone. Just before I mention my interest in AI and my work and my music, just before, like we met Thomas during a course actually, and when he said that he quit his job, he was not like a baker, he was like a head of data or something like that. So this is just to say that the potential of this thing is just like if it makes people behave like that, it's something to be considered. Now back to my work. I work as an analyst in the WISeKey group, and I'm starting to use AI into my daily work. And actually, the company is quite supportive of the use of AI as long as it is within the guidelines. I think it's great. I think most companies are actually getting to integrate more and more AI. Even though there is some risk, obviously, we're a cybersecurity company, we cannot do nonsense stuff, but there you go. Back to the music. So yeah, it's a hobby at the originally it was a hobby and it got more important to me because like I started to share with people, including you, and the feedback was good. And AI in my music is like is good for like testing ideas, right? To test ideas, and but it's really, for instance, let me give you an example. I write everything, every text, I write them myself. I will never use AI to write any text, right? Because it defeats the purpose of it. AI can be used like for backtrack, for like if I want to master my song and I don't want to pay a sound engineer, yeah, that's great. But I'm definitely not going to touch on my creativity with AI.
Have you tried, just out of curiosity, to put one of your texts into AI and say, improve it? Just out of curiosity?
That's a good question, but my text cannot be improved. No, I'm joking. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. No, I've never tried it. I've never tried it. Maybe I will at some point. And yeah, and I will demonstrate in a moment like what it looks like, the workflow of creating music with AI. Because like I did a conference a while back ago and people asked me, you know, you're not showing your music. Are you even an artist? So I'll maybe show something. We'll see.
Yeah, we look forward to that. I have another question with as you're talking more about the music and not your lyrics. Would you be able to say, this is my music and I operate in this style, whether it's rap or reggae or whatever, convert it into classical music, for example?
Yeah, so about conversion of style, like the main tool I'm experimenting with is called Suno.ai. And this tool is actually very bad at mixing I'm not mixing, but like converting styles to one another, like because it's a prompt-based system. And actually, if you have 2 minutes, I can show you the workflow of how I do it on Sudo.
Yeah, we'd love to.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen. And then I'm going to talk about serious stuff because like we're not here to go. Okay. There you go.
Music isn't serious?
Can you tell me if you can hear the sound?
No, not yet.
You cannot hear?
No?
Okay. You cannot hear it. Okay. Yeah, but like you can, I will check that afterwards, but you can see in here that I have the prompts.
So this is what you're
I draw a
typing
mind
to.
map.
Yeah.
I'm trying a structure of the music of what I want, but it's my style, right? I do it like this. And then once I identify a pattern that looks good to me, I will then try to fetch that information into the AI. So
Okay.
here I'm in Suno. And then in here, you can see like I look my prompt, then I input it into the music. I say it what I want. I use special characters to instruct it, like it's placeholder variables that tell him what I want him to do.
And so for
And
somebody who's just trying, is there a list of characters? Or you
yeah,
have to
it's
be a
very,
coder, you know how to code already?
no, it's a very good question. Actually, you have the documentation, and you have the documentation, and they give you something like, for instance, bridge, hook, or those kind of musical terms are actually well documented within the documentation. But then you have to experiment as well. And you can see in here what I want to, and the reason why I want to show you this workflow is that you can see that the music is not perfect at the beginning. You will see that during the next few minutes, I'm doing a few iterations on the end result because I'm not satisfied with it. I extend it, and this is actually very akin to the way that AI work, because you never ever get the final result you want at the beginning. You need to iterate to get, and Christian will probably say something similar to this because yeah, it's never good. And then you see, I'm then using my knowledge, to perfect the track. I'm using a preset, I'm mastering it, and then I finish it, and then I have a final result. It's sad that you cannot hear it, but it's just to show you that it just breaks the game of the music industry, because before you had to to gather so many people to have a final track, and now it's you're able to be a one-man show basically. So that's very interesting.
So what you're saying is it's a tool, but you're still at the end of the game, you're still the master, and you're playing with a tool that doesn't do this by itself.
Exactly.
Is there a possibility where if you use that same software, let's say, or that same AI over and over again, it will eventually learn what you want and it will do it alone, or you will always be behind it?
No, it's a good question again, because like when I'm doing the iteration, it remembers what I said it previously to build upon it and then to finalize the track. So yeah, I think it's and maybe Thomas can also explain that better, but like AI is typically like the framework it's built with, especially in regards to natural language processing. It's typically passing through layers of complexity to have your final result. And what happened in Suno, I don't know what is in the backend, but it's probably very similar to what is happening in a language setting, basically.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll come back to that. I'll just switch over to Christian, because you're actually working with an artist who comes, Silvana Solivella, who comes from the traditional sculptural world. So she's really into 3D and into touching and patina and creating with hands and with material, texture, etc. So how did you two get together? What happened?
Originally, we know each other since a long time. So at the beginning, we shared our work parallelly. And in the beginning of this year, we just realized that we were developing similar project, but on my side, on the AI or digital side, and her was on the physical side. So that's why we decided to work together to make a bridge, to create a bridge between what she was doing as a physical artist and what I was doing as a digital artist. And what is interesting is that actually what we create together, it was originally on the same, actually we create something without knowing each other that we were creating this thing. She was creating in small pieces, and I was creating them in huge and giant pieces. And I was always with the purpose of the AI and the possibilities that we have with the generative AI, I was really focusing on creating giant pieces of artwork or sculpture or but
so what we have in your background there, it almost looks like a photograph, but that's artificial intelligence.
That's why I put it in the background. It's a really creative, completely prompted based piece of art. If I can share, I can share. May I share?
Yes, I think you can. Yeah.
So I think it's this one. Share. You see it?
Yes.
Not this one. The other
Excuse
one.
me.
Yeah, this one is better. Because actually these are pieces that I've created. It's video. You see the video?
No, it's just an image at the moment.
So I keep it like this.
Okay, if we can just keep it like that, maybe we should explain. Silvana actually works on sculptures, which are then dipped into a mine, a salt mine, and the salt mine crystallizes around her structures, which can be metal or any other material. And what's interesting is that it's also generative in a way, in a natural way, because obviously the crystal keeps growing and keeps working until she decides enough. And also it's very fragile. So you can actually, I was talking about this with Silvana, she can actually break a piece, put it back in the salt mine, and she works with special areas in Spain where the salt is very pink. So there's that hue which changes and gives it more depth as well. But it's interesting that even if it's only physical and it's completely materialistic, it's also in a way moving and prompted by Silvana. And then you take that again and place it in another environment altogether.
Exactly. Actually, this is on this way to do it, and we are later on the keynote. Actually, these are the you've seen
yeah, they're very beautiful
in salt, and then you see the same tears in salt, but in a giant way. You have the scribble as well, is a 20 centimeter, 30 centimeter size. And this is the giant one.
Mm-hmm. Just a question: if let's say a collector would like to buy that, an art collector, do you then print it, or is it meant to be shown on screen, or how? What's your vision?
Originally, my vision is it's digital, so it has to be projected.
Uh-huh.
So for exhibition, the purpose is to do an installation where you have physical part, Silvana's sculptures, salt sculptures, and on the screen a projection. Now we improve a little bit the process, and we said we are going to project it on some des voiles.
Yeah, it's textile, like wings or yeah,
big,
sails.
Very fragile, but a bit moving. But the purpose is always to be projected. But as a collector wants to have it, we have an alternative solution, which is the printing on a big size to have a kind of a point of comparison between the both view. But the thing is that actually when you have that, of course, it's much more interesting to have it in a projection as a 4 meter by 4 by 3 meters than 50, 70 centimeters.
Yeah. Or even would you consider immersive, like that we as viewers could be inside your picture?
Yeah, so there's a second step what we can envision is real virtuality, VR, and 3D builds objects that we can enter with Google glasses and turning around or walking, because it seems to be a commonplace for the giant exhibition. So you can jump and go from one installation to another inside the virtual world. But the purpose is to keep it on the same, always in comparison from one other to each other.
Yeah. So the relationship between the physical and the virtual is very important.
So this is the piece where we discovered that we were working together on the same. She was working on glass bubbles, like It's kind of a donut, but you don't have to say that.
They're pearls.
Yeah. And then I was working on my side on this type of visualization of the pearls, but floating pearls. And actually what we decide is that based on what I'm doing also, it is a fast forward, not a fast forward, but I give a give back. I'm working on her pieces of sold pieces, and she's going to work. So this is one another, which is not finalized, but which has these results in the Giants way. But the idea is to have this type of
installation. Yeah.
installation. I want to jump to another one because she said, actually, when I show her all these installations, she said, "Oh, this I can do, this I cannot do."
Okay.
But actually, this one, I going fast. This one, she said, "Oh, it is absolutely incredible. I want to do it." And actually, what was more at the beginning on the feasibility of the translation, the translation between the physical and the digital, and from the digital to the physical in salt was this one. She said, "This I can put it. I can put a structure and make it in salt." So this is the purpose and the exchange we have in the working. Between what I create with generative AI and she's creating with salt.
Yeah, so you're almost prompting her. You're the creator, and she's then she's becoming your handyman.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was that was the purpose of the co-working, is that it was possible to make the two parts. Back, and she's working for me.
Okay, now I have a question just while we're on this to Thomas, because obviously they're Christian and Silvana's personal creations, but it is open source. So where does the intellectual property and the security come in?
Wow, this is the difficult question. As generative AI is an innovation, and as every innovation, there is first the innovation and then the regulation. And today we are in a phase, we are almost at the end of the pre-regulation phase, because in the US, in the Europe, of course, we already have text, but they are not applied yet. The European AI Act will be applying at the end of the year, and it will help us to have more data proprietary. And this is a very important path to what we call AI ethic. If we want AI to be a part of our life, we need AI to be ethic, which means we need to have a proprietary of the data for the creator. We need also more transparency about the data of the training, because today Christian and Anthony are able to create very nice things. And guys, seriously, I'm amazed about what you are doing, and this is great. And I think it's important that you continue to have the proprietary of that. But there is one thing which is about the training data set. We have no transparency. So no transparency about the training data set, we're meaning two things. First thing, we don't know who was part of this training and who maybe help you guys to create that because of the data they put in the training data set. The second thing is that, in AI, there is very, the capacity of AI is one, the model, two, the data. So those data that we don't know, those people who give data, who gave their data to train the model, they have no share of the receipt, no share of the gain of the AI, and this is a big problem because. And last sentence, because I know I can talk a lot, but this is a very big problem. For example, when we talk about cinema and the people who do the second vocals, when you double the movie. So now those people can be replaced easily.
Yeah.
Dubbing, sorry. Now those people can be replaced easily. but maybe that the voice were able to replace them. Maybe they was trained on their own voice, you know?
Yes.
So this is very important to have transparency about the data of the training in order to give a part of the value created to the people who help to train the model, to the people who maybe put art, music in the model to help the model to be very good and famous like that.
So we had this discussion also with our CEO, Carlos Moreira, and he was actually almost suggesting that the prompts that are given to AI, once you've hit the final, let's say your final product and you're happy with it, those prompts should then be almost, tokenized and saved on the blockchain so as to make them immutable and that ownership can be proved. Rather than putting the images or whatever on the blockchain. We know NFTs aren't doing that well, but we can actually protect ourselves using the blockchain for this sort of ownership proof.
This is such an interesting idea. I think that it will be also something very interesting for education. I'm also a teacher in business school, and you know, today all the students using AI, and now I'm trying to measure not the content they create, but the prompt. You know, so it's a bit the same that you are saying everything in the prompt. One problem with that is that today we have inconstancy, and we are not able to have always the same content with the same prompt. So the same prompt maybe will do two different things. So this is still difficult.
Yes, that's true.
May I just make a notice about that, because I've experienced something that is quite interesting, is that I recently practiced Flux. So Flux.1, I don't know if you know, but actually I'm working on Midjourney. So it's totally opaque and black. You don't know the database, that's for sure. On the other side, Flux is working on the stable diffusion system. So it's much more open. It's much more clear. I mean, of course, there's a lot of unknown, but it's a bit more ethical seen on this point. And actually, I tried to put the same prompt as I did in Midjourney. For you remember the planet with the circle?
Yes.
And I get a result without any reference of picture. Because in Midjourney, you can put some picture reference. So I put shapes, for example, to have something more precise. But in Flux, I didn't do that. I simply put the prompt and I get a result that was very, very close from the original Midjourney, which is very, very surprising.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's a convergence. It's coming day by day. Byte by byte, it's coming that there will be a common way of speaking to have the same results.
Or not. Maybe they'll start protecting. Yeah.
Actually, it depends on your prompt, because if you say, I want some craziness from I say like this, but if I want some craziness from the Gen AI, then it will give you something completely different.
Different again, yeah. Now, go back to Anthony's work and also Thomas's more corporate work, like you use it in your work. So is it a security thing, or is it a tool that is more efficient for you guys for what you're doing? Or is it time efficient or more precise? Why? What are the down pits? What are the disadvantages of using AI in the corporate world?
Anthony, I'll let you begin.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, definitely it's a productivity enhancement. I mean, to give you an example, like recently we were using AI to do, I'm trying not to distill corporate information, but we were using a process that I built to prepare weekly reports, right? And one day I was talking with a guy and I told you, did you see what I put on the report? It's very interesting, right? He looked at me and he said, I don't read your report. I was shocked. I was like, you don't read my report? I mean, I was really, really, not really shocked, but it was a bit weird situation. And then I was like, I spent 5 hours, like a bit less sometimes. If I'm really fresh, I do it in 3 hours, 3 to 5 hours. And then I was like, it is possible that I do this work and that it is not read, which is fine by me. But I was like, you know what? why can I automate it further, right? Using not necessarily AI, but at least machine learning stuff, right? To avoid repeating the wheel, right? And then I worked like 1 week like a crazy man to build this, and then now it took me like approximately like 1 hour to do the report.
Yeah.
We're still in the experiencing phase, right? But like the thing is, like if you compute 5 hours per week over the course of 3 years, if you do a basic computation, you realize that I've lost about, I don't know, like 10 days of my life doing basically nothing. Like imagine me putting me in the room and staring at the sky like this. This is the amount of time that I lost by doing manual work. So definitely AI can improve your work and the quality of your work as well. But
And
for
so
the
what are the
security,
dangers of you doing that?
sorry?
Are there any dangers?
Yeah. Back to what Thomas was saying about the fact that you have no idea about which data was trained. A very strange thing happened when I was doing this automation. Like me, we are using the professional GPT version so that the data cannot be used by the AI. I mean, at least that's what they say. So we should be on the safe side. We bought a professional account, so I'm confident that they don't use it. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when I was doing that, I was like, I have my prompt, so I spent time to realize the prompt, and it was very good. And in the middle of the result, the output, there was some data that was not present in the input. Like so, basically, I said you summarize this stuff and you do it in this format, and in the middle of it, there was output that there was no way I didn't write this. It was like from somewhere else, and I did it again and again because I wanted to check if I wasn't crazy. But like it was typically like this case of that, so the data was like used by maybe a company used the same system, and then the data was dumped into my output, And imagine if it was confidential information, like for instance the recipe of a very new product of everything. I mean, this is really dangerous. I mean,
I
and
think
it
that's
made
what
me
most
real.
people are scared about. And Thomas,
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong, but I also think that like big retail brands, they will use the data to like to spam maybe their potential clients. And so we were looking with big brands such as the Comité Colbert in France that have got Dior and they've got Hermès and they've got all these big brands that they're saying once they've got them in their clause, if you like, then they're going to buy. So then the idea is to, within the brand, once you've got the information, to protect them, to make sure if they have me, for example, and I'm in the Hermès database, that I don't go over to the Christian Dior database. So is there protections there, or how does that work? And the regulation and AI, of course, AI ethic is very important in that, but is that where the monetizing takes place, as you buy each other's lists? But that happened before. You didn't need AI for that.
Yes, exactly. I'm in data since 2015, and I arrived in the data things before RGPD, the data protection, the law for the data protection. And at this time, it was the Far West. You could buy data, exchange the data, and now we have a law for that. We are exactly at the same with AI. That say about security. The adage we said, when it's free, you are the product, is more true than ever. When you pay, normally, what you pay is privacy. So as Anthony said, they said that they don't use it. It's an engagement. We don't know, but today this is the best we can have. So the engagement is saying that they are not using your data to train the model. They are not using your data they are not selling your data. So what we recommend to our client today, the first thing is to have a privacy model internally, which could be a model that you buy to Copilot or ChatGPT. If you are very, very, very focused about privacy, what you can do as well is to buy what you call an open source model and to put it internally in your proper cloud service. This is great for security, but I just want to warn about something. This is very expensive because actually, when we buy ChatGPT or Copilot, we are not buying the model. the model is more and more what you call the model is anyway, you are buying cloud, you know, you are buying the cloud capacity. Exactly. So you can take a model open source like Llama 2, it's free, you can just take it. But to have it on your servers and to have it on your cloud, it will be expensive. So today, the first thing for client is to find the good balance between privacy need and price. And this is the balance you have to find thanks to your context and your activity. If you're in banking, maybe you will put the security here and the price here. And if you are in other sector, maybe it's different. But this is important to set it based on your profile and your objectives.
Okay, well, that's very useful. I've got another question coming up, but I was wondering if the audience had any questions. Please remember that you can go down in the Q&A. I'm checking regularly. And if you have any questions, you know, please feel free. We'd love to hear from you. One of the questions I had in the traditional art world, we have it's not a movement, but it's like a tangent, which is called appropriation art, where artists in painting anyway, but I guess it works in music too, can be inspired by another. Like you can paint in the style of Picasso, or you can paint in the style of I don't know, Renaissance art or whatever. Now with AI, of course, that makes it a lot easier because you can just prompt, you know, draw me a Madonna in the style of Botticelli, but using my colors or whatever, you know, and you can prompt it and make it your own. Now, in the real world, or not the digital world, we have this sort of unverbal, it's a verbal law, it's an unwritten law, that up to 30%, if you make it your own, if you use a base like the salt sculptures, but then you expand it up to a minimum of 30%, then it's not, you're not stealing it, you're appropriating the idea or the concept, but you're not plagiarizing, or you know, it has to be, you can call it your own. Would you say that's with AI, you will have, you know, like, I mean, one artist could say, I want, I don't know, a Madonna in the style of Botticelli, but with the colors of Klimt with lots of gold leaf, and then, and I want to make it abstract and cubist or whatever. How would that, I mean, whose work is it then? Is there like a percentage of what you can have and then call it your own, or doesn't that work yet? They haven't regulated that.
I don't know if it was for me.
Yeah, I guess. Or let's say Anthony too, with your music, like how much can you pump off other people before you're called a thief?
Yeah, so yeah, actually, I think it's a dangerous ground. We were talking about the fact that the ones that are doubling are actually angry, and I think they did a strike or something like that. And some artists actually, like I think Eminem or something like that, they like tend to sue artificial intelligence companies from using their voice into the music. And this is something that I can understand, but in the field of music, I don't know about art. I don't even know who is Botticelli, but like we tend to use.
I'll tell you later.
We tend to use like
You
what we
should.
call we tend to use what's called samples, you know, like even DJs and everything, you know, they use some part of the tracks and then we use it in a way that is very different, and that sometimes it brings a new glory to the music. And I really enjoy that, and I think it should be promoted. That being said, I really think that being careful about about not overdoing it, about music, like you said, appropriation, or I don't know what's the balance between it. But I think at least for the field of music, it has always been part of the art to use samples, to remix it, or to do things like that. So in the field of music, I think it's more like a gray ground. I started my music using actually I was talking about Eminem. I started one of my first track. It was like using one of the track of Eminem because I was fan of him, you know. And you know, if someone had told me, you know, you cannot use it because it's because you're a thief and everything, maybe I would have stopped, you know. So yeah, the balance is really hard to find. Just for my own intellectual clarity, I killed that track about Eminem because I don't want to get in trouble. But yeah, it's a great ground, I think, in the music at least.
If I may add something, I think this is a very good example, and I can't heard what you say, Anthony, without mentioning the very good documentary about DJ Mehdi, which is a famous DJ in France. I will give you this example. In the early 2000s, he took a very old, very old Arabian songs and created a rap named Tonton du Bled with it. At this time, this song was totally mainstream. In France, every community, everyone was hearing this song. They came to TV with that, which was crazy. And then the Arabic music, they sued them. And of course, they sued them because this is not the property of Tonton du Bled. So I understand that they do it. But as Anthony, I think which is important about art, I'm not a very good artist, but if I understand art, it's about creativity. So Sixtine, the example you took to take a bit of Botticelli and add something like that, I think this is art. This is creativity. Yeah. So today we arrive in a new area of art where we have more fluidity in the creativity because we can take not only sample, but a voice and a style. And I hope that it will get for us, for humanity, even more creativity than before.
And I agree with you. And I also think part of creativity is always, if you know about what you're doing and you know where you're going and you know what's inspiring you, you're already an artist in that you're a learned person. You're not, it's like somebody coming up and saying, my 4-year-old can do the same thing. Well, no, they can't, because there's a whole lot of conceptual thinking behind it. We actually have some Gianandrea Facchini, thank you for joining us. And he's actually proposing exactly what we're talking about. He says, can we say that part of the AI-based digital art consists of writing prompts, but just as in the past, could have been the ability to use color brushes and sculpt stone? I mean, it's true, it's an ability and you have to learn it. And that's why I was asking Anthony earlier, you need to know, when you're using special characters in your prompts, well, you have to understand what you're doing. So there is a learning process for sure. So that leads me to the next question is, and we don't have that much time left, so I'll have 2 questions for all of you, which concerns actually the younger generations, is what should it be taught at school right from an early age? Should everybody be exposed to AI as a tool, just like we were used to going to the library or looking up microfiche and then learning how to, that was something my kids did, is learning how to ask Google something. Because, learning how to target your result or your answers. So at what age should that happen? Do you think right from the beginning, or should we let kids play in the park first?
I'm definitely convinced that this technology shouldn't be a void. And at what time it should be embraced. Because actually, it's a matter of brain building or maturity about the young generation. Because actually, I was at the conference about art and AI 2 weeks ago, and actually the guy who was making the conference was a teacher. So his main concern was to say, before AI can do everything for you, just learn to do everything for you before you can use AI, just to be able then to have the maturity to analyze and to say, you won't never have the experience of somebody of 40, somebody of 50, somebody of 60, somebody of 80 has a huger experience than a guy from 20 or 15. Mm-hmm. But the capacity of discernment, I don't know to say that in English otherwise like this, is much important to be able to use the tool instead of be used by.
Okay, that's a good point. It's we don't need to, the dangers of being used by the tool is exactly that, is lack of knowledge. And that's
Yeah.
something, you know, you have to learn how to crawl, then walk before you can run, or read and write before you can, you know, use it maybe. There's another lawyer who told me once in Geneva, in a court of law, you never ask a question unless you know the answer. And I think that's a little bit where we're going. Thomas, would you say that's the same thing? In like on the more corporate terms, would you suggest that a company uses them but sparingly, or just train everybody to use it straight away?
This is the question we are trying to answer to all our clients.
Yeah.
I think because AI, generative AI, is at the attention of non-technical individuals, I think it's important to do trainings and to create a culture about AI. Because if I talk with Martin, which is an accountant working since 30 years, telling him just, okay, there is ChatGPT, use it, the change is too big. I think it's important to help this change. What we do a lot is change management. And change management is basically identifying the most important use case and help people to do it. So we train the team, we also train the leadership. I talk about the two because you can't create an AI culture if you are not aligned with both the individuals, the people who work every day with the tool, and also the leadership. We need to align all of them and to align all of them into a strategy. And this is the more important. Training is part of the strategy, but you can't just train. You need a roadmap. You need to say, okay, we know that it will change our work, and we identify those three main subject use case. Let's invest in that, and let's begin with the one, and then we will do the two. Trying to go directly on the moon, I think it's not effective. You need to do it step by step.
Step by step, yeah. Okay. And would you say the same, Anthony, in the CRM world? Is it something that needs to be controlled a little bit as well? And as you said before, the database, and without revealing any corporate secrets of the company, of course, but you think that everybody in a company should be trained, or is it okay if you manage it all?
Yeah. So, I mean, from an intellectual perspective, I think that I'm really happy that when I learned at school, there wasn't ChatGPT, because I really would have hated it. Because the problem, I think, with AI, because we talked a lot about the positive aspect, but there is some problem. Of course, we talked about the ethical concern and everything, but like the problem with AI, in my opinion, is that it can make you feel like you're super good, whereas you're not, because you are just basically prompting the thing and it gives incredible answers like coding and everything. And this is a problem in my opinion, because like you can basically, like, let's say you are building a solution, right? You are prompting the solution, the assistant or whatever, and it gives you a solution, you know, it's perfect and everything. The day where you have a problem, man, you're going to struggle to find the problem, the issue. You're going to be dependent on ChatGPT to help you. And I think if there is any developer in the room, you have had that dreaded feeling of being dependent on ChatGPT, and then you have this message that says like something like, this page cannot be loaded, and then you are like on your project, you cannot do anything because you don't even understand the code that has been generated. And this, in my opinion, is something that is very dangerous. So I think the person that is using ChatGPT in production system should have a depth of understanding of what he's doing, and that is very important, because like you cannot do something in production without having a prior understanding on the subject.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point that you're making too, about finding the source. And now I come back to the art world because that's what I know best, but they're saying that you can now use AI as well to authenticate art. And I find that it's very interesting, and yes, probably again, save time and come straight to the point. But on the other hand, you need several different tools. So in the last, say, 20 years, there's now forensic analysis, which studies the, you know, the making of the paint and the brushstroke, and whether, you know, again, Picasso pushed on his paint or whether Van Gogh did it in this and that style. And you can start seeing digital digital prints on the paints, etc. There's lots of work. And in the old days, like when I was first starting, it was more like, you know, you had an expert and he just knew an artist inside out, and he could look within 30 seconds and say, yes, this is right because I feel it in my stomach. And then you find out also in time that those same people were going through a divorce and needed money or anything, and then all of a sudden wrote, yes, it's the real one because they were getting paid. So then they were saying certification shouldn't be paid. And now with AI, I think it's just one more input into the bigger picture to actually authenticate a painting. And I think that's very difficult to put in one basket. You need all these different inputs: human, scientific analysis, and now AI, which is a comparative analysis, put it that way. And then I think maybe, you know, it'll be more precise every time. What I think is interesting is that whatever we find out today, we can, again, we can paironize and claim ownership with the token. And to me, like saving cultural heritage and all that, the blockchain is what really counts, because all these results will not be able to be changed. Whereas up until now, you had one result, and then somebody else came up and said, no, I don't think this painting is by so-and-so, and it's not in the catalog raisonné, and so it doesn't count, blah, blah, blah. And now, if we start really putting everything in that new digital registry, it will not be changed in the future. So 50 years from now, or even 30 years from now, nothing will be disputed, because it'll all be done. And AI will be one of those comparative tools which will be more precise than anybody alive or any human being. And I think that's what's important. But the danger is, again, you need to know, like a lawyer said, you need to know what you're asking, and you need to sort of know the answer. You can get a more precise answer with AI, but you need to know, you know, where the machine is going before you start using it. I mean, that's my opinion. And I think, again, it's the very premises. What's interesting too with artists is that up until now, people doing digital art were coders, and now they're prompters. And, you know, who else? It'll be, you know, there's a fight there, I know, that's going on, which is quite interesting. And I got a quote from a German guy who was in the 60s, was an artist in New York, and he said, I'm a painter learning to become a programmer. And now I think programmers are learning to become creators, which is also interesting in a you know, like it's turning around. And that's the whole beauty, I think, and not danger, but beauty of creation and of the human mind at the end of the day, is how far does the imagination go, and how far can you push the machine by human beings. I know if you agree with me, but just to close off, I'm gonna, like, we've got 5 minutes left. I'd like to announce the next meeting, which is on the next webinar, which is on November 21. And it'll be about exactly that. What's the future of NFTs? And maybe it's not commercial, maybe it's more preservation. That's my take anyway. And I'll let you guys close off by just a word of advice. We have a few listeners from all sorts of different walks of life. Olga, welcome, from the insurance company. We've got some family office people. We've got somebody all the way from Asia. Jake, welcome. So it's fun to see you all. What's your word of advice to people around the world about AI? I'll start with Christian. Age before beauty.
I'm too young in expertise in generative AI to give a word of wisdom, but I would say explore. Explore, yeah. Practice and just discover to see where are the possibilities, where are the opening, and where are the dangers, because there are some dangers that we talked about before. So it's important to explore and test. So practice makes perfect, and be curious. Yeah, be curious, of course. It's always the base. Yeah. Be curious. And so Thomas, so as to not lose a whole lot of money, what do you tell your clients?
I like, I don't want to say exactly the same as Christian, but I will say, so I will use the co-intelligence rules of Ethan Mollick, which is a researcher, sorry. So the 4 rules of co-intelligence, the first is invite AI to the table, test it, try it. The second one is to stay the human in the loop, stay the one who takes the decision, measure it, be sure that it's working. The third rule is treat AI as a human. This is strange, but when you give a role to an AI, it gives a new character and give new feedback. Act like a very art guy, act like the director of my bank. So treat the AI like a human. And the fourth one is do like if it's the worst AI you have never seen, and don't forget that it makes errors. It's just we are in the year 0 of the beginning of AI, and there is still a lot of challenge. So stay focused. It can have error, and it's normal.
That's a good point, and I'll bounce back on the treat AI as a human. I often exchange with a lady here in Geneva called Laura Tokmakov, and she's got AI Impact, and she's very her company is very adamant on training AI to be a feminist. I mean, I'll put it very, very bluntly. But and she always says, you know, when women prompt with AI, they'll say, hello, please, thank you, and no, and you know, like maybe think about it this way, whereas men usually prompt much more direct. I don't know which is the best way, but it's funny, and I'm sure AI eventually will learn that yeah, the feminine gender is more maybe more polite. I don't know. That's what it seems to be at the moment. Bouncing back on that, Anthony, what's your word of advice since you've been using it?
Yeah, so yeah, both intervention was I agree with them, and to bounce back on what Thomas said about like having a system when you're prompting the AI. The other day, actually a while ago, I was talking with a guy who was really good in prompt. He was really, really good, and he was very good in math as well. And I asked him, you know, what is the thing that makes you so good in prompting? He said, oh, it's my background in sociology. Of course, I was expecting that he would tell me math, right? But he said, no, it's sociology, because I'm able to do frameworks and make those frameworks work with the AI. And I think it's very interesting, coming back to what has been previously said, like the AI actually is breaking the boundaries between various disciplines. So you don't need to be a scientist to use AI. So of course you should experiment it, but I really think that you should experiment it with your unique characteristics. I'm going to quote a very famous man, which is a character from the movie Fight Club. You are actually a unique and beautiful snowflake. The real quote is, you are not a unique, beautiful snowflake, but you are a unique, beautiful snowflake. You have your own characteristics and your own background, and ultimately that's what is going to make you able to use AI the way somebody else is not going to use it. And you should leverage this to build your own solution. And I know it sounds like a grandiloquent statement, but from my experience, the best result I've built was because I used my different background to ultimately have the result I expect. So do not be shy of your background and just leverage it through the AI, and you'll be amazed at what you can do.
Yeah, I also think that in the future, if we do work with robots and we have robots working for us at home or whatever, is that we should be able to train them the way we want them to work for us. So, I mean, it's still, we're going to have the upper hand on the robots, I imagine. I'm hoping anyway.
Yeah, you hope.
Of course.
All right, guys. Well, I'd like to really thank you very much. It's been super interesting and relaxed and nice to talk about AI without being fearful. I'm hope nobody's worried now anymore and can use this tool, which is what it is. And we'll look forward to seeing you all on the 21st, and we'll talk more finance and the future of NFTs, but also the protection of our cultural heritage. Bye. See you soon. Thank you.
Thanks for the invitation. Bye-bye.